In this video, I'll go over functions in C++. Now, what is a function? A function is an independent, reusable module that will perform some task for you. It's a well-defined task, and usually it's a single task rather than multiple tasks. We have already used functions, some built-in functions such as the power function, square root function, trigonometric function, sine, cosines, and so forth. And just as an example, just to remind you, the use of these built-in functions, let's say we want to find 2 raised to the power of 3, for example. 2 raised to the power of 3, and if you recall, we use the built-in function POW, and the base is 2, the exponent is 3, and we can print this and line, and that computes 2 to the power of 3 and prints it. I can run this, and here it is. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Right, this is something that we have done in the past. Now, let's write our own function, user-defined function. In order to write our own function, we first need to look at the syntax of defining a function. The syntax or the header of a function is, first you start with the return type. Return type, you include that, followed by the name of the function, and then that is followed by list of parameters in parentheses, list of parameters. And this list is separated by commas. So the header of a function, when you define a function, the header of the function has the syntax given in line 2. Start with return type, which could be Boolean, which could be double, integer, character, string, any type, followed by the name of the function, and then followed by a list of parameters inside parentheses. Then we'll have the block of code that will be executed when the function is called. And the block of code will be inside of braces, open braces, closed braces, and right inside the block you will have the code for the function. Right. That's the syntax of writing a function. So let's actually write a function here. I'm going to write a function. So here is the description of the function. Write a function called sum2 that receives 2 integer parameters and returns their sum. Right? So to write that, you think about the description of this function. The name of the function is clear, sum2, receives 2 integer type parameters. That's also clear, that's the list of parameters, and returns the sum of the 2 integers. So since the 2 parameters are integer, their sum would be integer as well. So the return type of this function will be an integer type. That corresponds to this return type. Followed by the name of the function, sum2, and then the list of parameters. The 2 parameters, integer parameters, you have to include the type, int, and followed by the name of the parameter or variable, that's x, and then the second parameter, int, y. Let's call it y. Instead of x and y, you can call the parameters whatever you want, really. And then here is the block of code. This independent module, this function, receives 2 parameters, right? Adds them up and returns the result. So what we can do, we can actually create a local variable inside this function, an integer, let's say total, and assign to it the sum of the 2 parameters, x plus y. We don't know exactly what is the value of x, and we don't know what is the value of y. But when this function is called, those 2 values will be passed to this function. But regardless of their values, this function adds them up and then returns them. And then it returns their sum, which is stored in total. There it is. That's the definition of the function sum total. Right? Now I can go into the main function and call it. So that was the definition part of a function, and then you have to now utilize it in the main program and call it. And here is how you call it. So I can also say cout, right? Let's say we want to add two numbers, 5 plus 7 is equal to, right here, the sum of 5 and 7, it is going to be equal to, now I call the function sum2 and pass the two parameters. In this case, 5 will be x and 7 will be passed for y. And then end line. Right? When we run this program, you'll see here is the program. We'll run it. And what comes out is, 2 to the power of 3 is 8. That's the built-in function power that it's called. And then in line 19, we have the cout, 5 plus 7 is equal to. Now, the function sum2 5 7 is called. What happens here, the control is passed to this function. So the block of code inside the function will be executed. 5 is passed for x, 7 is passed for y. So inside this function sum2, x has the value of 5 and y has the value of 7. 5 and 7 are added, stored in total, and total is returned as an integer. So this sum2 5 7 function call is replaced by this return value, which is 12. So this whole thing is replaced by 12.